Hello and welcome to another insightful episode of Healthy Living. I'm Aisha Salihu. In a world where working mothers play a vital role, we delve into a crucial issue that impacts both career and family. Achieving exclusive and optimal breastfeeding while ensuring workplace support and the introduction of complementary foods. Experts say breast milk helps keep babies healthy. It supplies all the necessary nutrients in the proper proportions. It protects against allergies, sicknesses, and obesity, as well as protecting against diseases like diabetes and cancer. It also protects against infections that can affect these babies. Join us as we hear from experts, working mothers, workplace leaders, and organizations dedicated to the well-being of mothers and children.
Breast milk is very, very important. It is a complete food for our infants, and it is advised that mothers breastfeed exclusively without water, without medication, unless on pediatrician's prescription to the baby. The breast milk is very, very good for the baby. Like I said earlier on, it's a complete food. It contains all the nutrients in appropriate proportion, and is God's made food for babies. And mothers should not fail to breastfeed their babies exclusively first 6 months. And it is expected that as soon as the mother put birth to the baby, within 30 minutes, the baby should be sucking the mother's breast. Otherwise, the mother may have issue of being able to have enough milk for the baby that period. So it is advised that babies are being placed on breast. Colostrum is very, very good for the babies. It serves as antibiotics for the baby. It helps to fight any disease, and it is very good, and mothers should not throw it away for any reason. Some people call it witch milk. It's very, very good for the baby. It boosts immunity of the baby.
Some of our mothers, they still believe in those olden days practice of our time, that they will feed, we breastfeed, and then nan is by the side, lactogen is by the side, and all that. And we have found out that that is not very, very good for our children of these days. So we encourage our mothers that as much as they have the time, that they should sit down and then breastfeed their children and give them enough breast milk. And it should be an exclusive breastfeeding. Nothing more than that, no water, nothing, at least for the first 6 months of their children's life. Even when they are working mothers, even if they are going, some of the offices now, they have creches. Some of them, they do express milk. Even in this hospital, we encourage mothers to express milk, put in their refrigerators, and then give to the children.
Mothers, for example now, mothers that are working, we can't stop them from working, because sometimes mothers are like the breadwinners of the family, especially when the husbands are not working. Now, it's advisable that if you are a working mother and you are working, it's better to get a daycare very close to your workplace, so that maybe when you have a break, you can go quickly and breastfeed your daughter or your son. That is what we encourage.
I have a restaurant. I sell food. So my baby is 6 months. How is not an easy something for you doing breastfeeding baby up to 6 months and running up and down, especially when you are selling food, you deal with restaurants. It's not an easy something. It's not easy for a mother to be breastfeeding and be running up and down. And you know our economic now, things are not easy for a mother. Say that you want to leave everything for a husband to be doing. It's not an easy something. So you have to support your husband to do something. And you breastfeeding a baby and be doing business. So, look at my baby today. My baby is healthy because of exclusive for 6 months. My baby is healthy. Funny enough, I don't have a nanny. It's just only me. It's only me. that is doing all these things. Even in my shop too, I don't have anybody. So I have to keep my baby. If it's time for me to breastfeed him, I will just abandon everything that I'm doing because he's the one that is making me to do that business. I will abandon everything and focus on him to feed him very well before going back to my business.
We said it has not been easy actually, as nursing, combining nursing a baby and working at the same time. It's not easy, but what I've gotten from the hospital is that they give me time, like time that I will have with my baby. They give me time, like making me close earlier than expected. I do other stuff. Our closing hours here usually used to be 4, but I do close by 1. You understand? So that it will make me have that bonding between I and my baby. And sometimes they pardon me whenever I come here. They consider me as a breastfeeding mother. They consider me on that.
Well, I have 4 children and I did exclusive breastfeeding. It's only when you call it work that it becomes work. I was a working mother. I was working when I was having my babies, and I did exclusive for all of them. And I enjoyed doing it. It's good for the mothers. It makes the mother come back to the shape and also prevents sorts of cancers from the mothers. So it is encouraged that mothers should feed their babies exclusively. When mothers are breastfeeding their babies, mothers should eat adequately. Common man call it balanced diet. Mothers should take all food in appropriate proportion. The food should be colorful. When it's colorful, it contains all the nutrients. Mothers should eat well, have enough rest, should not be stressed, should have enough time, and should not, mothers are not supposed to go through any domestic violence during any time, not to talk of during breastfeeding. Because when a mother is not stressed up, much milk comes out. Mothers should eat and drink stimulating drinks. Stimulating drinks are those drinks that contains all these our African nutmeg, all these spices, our traditional spices. Mothers are encouraged. Hausas, they give kunu samia. Igbos, they give offensala. So all those spices are good. It enhances the expression of breast milk. After 6 months, mothers are expected to complement, not supplement. You complement the breast milk with food. You first and foremost start breastfeeding the baby with liquid, semi-liquid, then semi-solid. Progress in that manner. You know, when you want to give the baby food, you make sure that the food is correct. It contains all the nutrients. Then you give one food one after the other to make sure that babies are not allergic. While you're feeding your baby, you should find out if babies react to certain food. That will show you whether the baby reacts to that certain food. Don't join the whole food at a time. You progress from one to the other and watch the baby and see. Because some babies develop allergy.
My baby is 7 months old, and exclusive breastfeeding, actually, it's a full-time job. It's not easy, but as a mother, for the love you have for the child and the future of the child, you just have to you just have to have that heart as a mother for the child. So you do all it takes to make sure your child is healthy. And exclusive breastfeeding is one of the main source of the child being healthy. Well, the support I need as a mother is the good education, actually, because out there a lot of people don't have this privilege to adequate information about exclusive breastfeeding. Because when you started, like, this is my first baby, so when I started, a lot of information, misinformation out there. So the source to adequate information to a lot of mothers out there? Well, it has been more easier for me. I thank God because my baby eats everything I eat. I try to at least, even if it's little of what I eat, she eats a lot.
Breastfeeding promotes bonding. And there's something we call secured attachment in psychology. Breastfeeding ensures secured attachment. It makes the child or the children in general to have adequate attachment with their parents. And that is why we see that, or we observe that children, they have more close relationship with their mothers compared to the fathers. Because of what? Just because of this breastfeeding. Any mother that doesn't breastfeed his or her child, the mother is just trying to negatively affect the life of the child later in the future. And I want to tell you that if a child, gets adequate breastfeeding right from childhood, it promotes the self-esteem of the child. The child will not have this reduced or low self-esteem. When you are working, get a nanny very close to your place of work so that during break time, you can go and breastfeed. You don't have to be in Kafansha and your child is in Lagos and think that that's enough for the child. No, it's never enough. The role of the father, in breastfeeding is that the father should try and provide everything that the mother needs at this time. And also the father should support the mother in any way. For example now, if the mother is in the kitchen, the baby is crying in the room, the father can go to the room and carry this baby, give to the mother while he continues with what the mother is doing in the kitchen. With that, it promotes even good bonding between the mother, the child, and also the father. So the father should encourage the mother, because some mothers, they easily get tired when they are breastfeeding. So it's the role of the father to also encourage.
Balancing work and breastfeeding is a challenge, but supportive policies make all the difference. It is against this backdrop that the World Health Organization designated August 1st to 7th to mark the annual World Breastfeeding Week. This year's theme, Let's Make Breastfeeding and Work work. The main aim of celebrating World Breastfeeding Week is to create awareness among the people, especially in expecting and nursing mothers, about the importance of breastfeeding for the health of mother and infant. We'll go on a quick break now, and when we do return, we'll take a look at some of the demands for this year's celebration of the World Breastfeeding Week. Welcome back. If you're just joining in, this is the program Healthy Living on Trust Television. The World Health Organization, WHO, and the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, UNICEF, recommend optimal breastfeeding that includes exclusively breastfeeding, that is, only breast milk without any additional food or water, exception to oral rehydration solution, drops, and syrups. A child during the first 6 months of life, and then continuing to breastfeed until the age of 2 years, with the addition of suitable and sufficient supplementary foods. In developing nations, exclusive breastfeeding of infants younger than 2 years old has the highest potential impact among other preventive interventions on child survival, having the ability to save approximately 13% of all deaths in children under the age of 5 years. Now let's take a look at the demands and commitments by policymakers, governments, and the civil society organizations.
It's not a matter of just breastfeeding, but you must exclusively breastfeed your child for 6 months for you to get the best out of that breast milk. When you breastfeed a child for 6 months exclusively, the immunity of that child is built against any sicknesses, any diseases, any infection. When you breastfeed a child significantly, compulsorily, exclusively for 6 months, you have equipped the child nutritionally. So that by the time you introduce home food, or what we call complementary food, at 6 months, the child will be able to grow properly. Because The breast milk, if we go into the chemistry of breast milk, it has antibodies that protect the child when the child is born. And besides, when the child is born, the stomach is very small. The stomach is not equipped to digest any kind of food apart from breast milk. So by the time you breastfeed your child, especially for 6 months, the child will get all the antibiotics, all the things that he needs to survive life. Then at 6 months, when you introduce complementary food, by then, with not only complementary food, nutritious food. Because government have even also engaged some micronutrients you can introduce at that 6 months, like the micronutrient powder. You can introduce it to improve the nutrient content of the food at 6 months so that the child will properly develop. But the issue we have in Nigeria is that we are breastfeeding, but we are not exclusively breastfeeding. Do you get it? That is, some mothers introduce water within that first 6 months. Some mothers introduce food within that, so even concussion within that first 6 months. I mean, we call it mixed feeding. And once you introduce that, you are no longer exclusively breastfeeding your child for 6 months. And the child may suffer greatly, which may contribute to the malnutrition you're talking about, eventually in life.
A lot of times, women, when they give birth, they get disenfranchised. Sometimes they lose their job, or they're not allowed because of the workplace policies to be able to breastfeed their children adequately. So we are creating awareness that government and institutions should make it possible for pregnant women, when they return back to work, they have access to their children and be able to breastfeed effectively. They should create workplace policies that will make it friendly for women to breastfeed adequately. We would want people to see pregnancy and give delivery and childbirth not as a problem, but as a way to go, in the sense that we would provide the opportunity for women to spend at least 6 months maternity leave, 6 months maternity leave to be able to breastfeed their children, and then also for those who have returned to work, have a place where they can effectively breastfeed, a corner within the workplace where they can actually effectively breastfeed their children. And we want to encourage breastfeeding up to 2 years, but essentially exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months, and then breastfeeding up to 2 years with complementary feeding for the child.
But the authentic national survey we go about is our NHS, right? Which says it's 29, exclusively breastfeeding. But we have up to 90% of Nigerian women breastfeeding.
But not exclusive.
So if you minus 29%, you will see we have almost 60 something. Are you getting it?
Yes.
Adding water. So if we can sensitize this section that is adding water to stop adding water, you know that Nigeria will get up to 90. Are you getting it?
Yes.
So the essence of these celebrations every year is to sensitize our mothers, get the male involved, because it is not easy. If the male are not involved, if the husband does not provide an enable environment, if the husband does not provide the peace, if the husband does not provide a comfortable environment at home, the woman may not exclusively breastfeed. Do you know that? Secondly, if the office, assuming the working class ones, does not have a crèche or a place where they can breastfeed these children, they can't exclusively breastfeed. So the essence of all this campaign is to keep on encouraging our mothers, encourage organizations to provide an environment that will enable these our mothers to breastfeed. And that is why government, in their wisdom, have approved 16 weeks, maternity leave. And we are pushing for 6 months, which we are getting good feelers that it will soon be approved. Even upon that, some states have approved 6 months, and even given the fathers paternity leave of 2 weeks.
The challenge we have in Nigeria today is that about 9%
only about 9% of organizations in Nigeria have workplace policies for working mothers. The challenge is that working mothers don't have the support they need when they give birth, in terms of a paid maternity leave, optimal paid maternity leave up to 6 months, and also when they return to work from leave, they don't have the enabling environment, enabling for them to breastfeed their children. Babies are eating. When babies are breastfeeding, they are eating. The same way we want to feel comfortable when we eat, the same way babies should be comfortable when they eat. And we promote and we say that employers should help, should support in this effort. We want to ensure that mothers have access to 6 months paid maternity leave, even or even more. We have some states in Nigeria that are leading this pack. We have Plateau State. Plateau State has given 6 months of maternity leave to mothers working with the civil service, and that's something that other states should emulate. We also have Lagos State that's leading in this front. We have Ekiti, we have Ondo State, okay, and we have Oyo State also. We have Kwara. About 6 of them are leading in this front, ensuring that women have access to paid maternity leave so that they can maintain their career and also breastfeed. Women should not be given the option of either this or that. Either you breastfeed or you pursue your career. It should be pursue your career, lead your full potentials, and also give the baby a good start in life. I want to also say, only human beings give their babies breast from cow and animals, and goats breastfeed their young. Cows breastfeed their young. Only human beings will think that breast milk from a goat or cow is better for their baby, whereas the breast milk God has given to the mother is adequate for the baby, helps the baby in terms of cognitive development, physical development. Breastfed babies, exclusively breastfed babies, don't develop certain diseases or sicknesses like pneumonia, measles, diarrhea, and some of these infections. And also economically it is viable, because you know how much you spend to buy baby food and all that. When you breastfeed your baby exclusively, you don't have to go to the hospital, take the baby often to the hospital. So this year we are calling on governments, we are calling on employers. We already know the benefits of breastfeeding. The next thing we need to do is to match our knowledge with action. Match our knowledge with action by one, optimal paid leave, up to 6 months or even more for working mothers, so that they can continue to breastfeed. Ensure that our workplaces are breastfeeding friendly. Ensure lactation and breastfeeding rooms in all our offices, so that women, when they return from their leave, can continue to breastfeed.
Mothers are being deprived, especially working class mothers. They've been deprived of breastfeeding their children for 6 months, and this has brought a breach between the bonding of this mother and the children. So it is advisable that policymakers, employers, and managers should set aside a breastfeeding cubicle for these nursing mothers, so that during the work hours they can take some time off and breastfeed their children. We all know the importance of breastfeeding. It makes the baby healthy, it is easily digestible, and it provides this nutritional benefits for the children. So please, policymakers, employers, and managers should support the women, the working class women. At least there should be a paid maternity leave for working class mothers for at least 6 months for them to breastfeed their children. Bringing the 16 weeks that have been put in place can be extended to at least 6 months, and the fathers should be given paternity leave to support their wives, because it goes hand in hand. Collaborative support will actually foster optimum breastfeeding for our children.
As we conclude, let's reflect on the importance of working collectively to empower working mothers. Breastfeeding isn't just a responsibility of mothers, it's a shared societal commitment. By fostering a culture of support, we can ensure every working mother has the tools to nurture her child's future. Thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey through the realms of breastfeeding, workplace support, and the complementary foods. Remember, it takes a village to raise a child, and together we can create a nurturing world for our future. For comments, suggestions, and contributions on this episode, do well to subscribe, follow, and like all of our social media platforms. Join us again on another episode of the program. I am Aisha Salihu.